And speaking of like the whole growth mindset, can you actually share some insights on developing a growth mindset and how it's crucial for achieving success in both professional and personal life?
Yeah, great question. So, we're talking mindset, and I know everybody in the coaching space knows what mindset is because we know that literally mindset is 80% of our success in anything. But I also know that in the corporate space, like that's not as necessary, or that's not necessarily spoken about. So mindset are the set of beliefs that you hold true for yourself, right? So we each have different set of beliefs. So, we've been told that the sky is blue, and enough people believe that the sky is blue that when we're little kids, we're told, okay, that's what it is. So when you think about a belief that we hold deep in, like deep within ourselves, it's stuff like that. It's the sky is blue. But then there are other messages, and there are other beliefs that we adopt based on, our time between 0 and 7. So all of our beliefs are established between the age of 0 and 7. So conception to the age 7. It's like our subconscious mind is recording everything it sees, everything it touches, everything it feels. So think of the five senses, right? So anything that's coming through the five senses, the subconscious mind is recording. And then somewhere around like 8, 9-ish, it's like, all right, I'm full, basically. And then it just starts going on autopilot. And for a very long time, we're recreating the same relationships that we had in our household. We're recreating like the same types of behaviors that we experience in our, like at school with our friends and everything else, until we get to a point and we're in our career and we're kind of like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Which is why we go to that question of who am I? But our beliefs are so ingrained in who we are. And so for the difference between like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset is people with a growth mindset believe that they can learn anything. Even if it's hard, even if it's new, even if it's difficult, they take it with the approach that somebody's done it. So maybe I can find it on YouTube, maybe I can find it in a book, maybe there's a coach out there. Or if they fail at something, then it's not like, oh my gosh, I failed, like I'm a failure and I'm going into this dark hole. It's no, I didn't get the outcome that I wanted to get, but I learned a few things. So next time I go back to it, I'm going to make some tweaks. And so it's very much a learner's mindset. It's very much, everything that I do. And I always quote Thomas Edison when I do my growth mindset trainings. He says, I have not failed 10,000 times. I've found 10,000 ways that don't work. And so that is what a growth mindset looks like. So depending on where you are, whatever it is that you're have going on, we've been taught in school, like especially if you grew up in the Western civilization, it's you do good, you get a gold star. You do good, you get an A. You do good, you get a plaque or a trophy or whatever. So from school, like 4, 5, preschool, we are conditioned that you do something, you get a good grade. You don't do it right, you get punished. You get an F, you are a failure, you're all these things. And so sometimes we go through life, and you can still have a growth mindset and have this aversion to failure, but we go through life and something doesn't work out, and we don't make the thing bad or wrong, we make ourselves bad or wrong. And that belief system is rooted in whatever you experience as a child. So all that to say, for the backdrop of when you think about the growth mindset, it's, are you the type of person when things don't go your way, do you give up and say, oh, it's always been that way, or it's never going to work out, or I'm not meant to have this? Or are what, I've never done it before, but I'm willing to try. Or what, I failed the last time, but I learned two things that I'm going to try, and I'm going to test it out this time and do it this way. And so that's what separates that growth mindset. And I quote Steve Jobs, or I use Steve Jobs as an example as well. I mean, he may have his faults, but he is a living embodiment of someone with a growth mindset. Because all those engineers that kept coming back and was like, we can't do it, we can't do it. He's like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And yet, yes, he lived in his little world of delusion, but he believed that it was possible and was not willing to take the failure as the absolute. And now, the world has essentially changed as a result of his growth mindset.
Yes, it reminds me of All things are possible. The
Yes.
Bible verse, is it Philippians something? I forget.
Or 13.
Oh, you know, yay. Yes. But going back to like, as you reminded me of like my childhood. I have like flashback all over. So my third grade teacher, and I mentioned about her on my podcast before. She was evil. Okay, so she had this system called tokens, right? Anytime we got the correct answer, get a token from my desk. So we would collect tokens and we're like, all right, I got a token for if I get the wrong answer, put a token in on my desk. So we're like, oh no. It was a horrible, and I was so fearful of that lady. Like I was scared to even learn. I was like, we're learning like multiplication at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like counting my fingers, and I was like, please don't pick me, please. I was like so fearful. It wasn't until my fourth grade teacher who then said, you can do this. You got this. Those encouraging words made a big difference. I was like, thank you. And from that point on, I got honor roll. I was getting D's and C's. Recently, my husband told me that my stepson, they don't even grade with A's anymore, or B's and C's. I'm like, oh, they don't. I said, oh, because I was graded, I got F's and C's in like second grade. The heck? I'm in second grade. What's going on? So I understand what you're talking about with the whole conditioning. It's like we need to deprogram ourselves and really then find our true self and our true spiritual being and what we're capable of, because we're capable of a lot.